Hey, hey, hey. Happy Wednesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, amazingly enough, thegaminggang.com, which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Wednesday, September 21st, 2022, and this is live stream 832. If you are kind of hanging out here for the first time, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news and taking a look at a tabletop game. Usually next month, going to all be reviews. Ooh, I don't do a lot of live reviews, but all through October, it will be live reviews. Fingers crossed on that. Could turn into a huge disaster. We'll find out. Anyway, today is a War Game Wednesday. That's right. We are going to take a first look at Great Battles of Julius Caesar, the Deluxe Edition, from our friends over at GMT Games. This includes 20 ancient battle scenarios. So we're going to be diving on into this. As you can see, this is a pretty big box. It's rather hefty as well. So we're going to be taking a peek at that in just a bit, which leads me to point out, if you're not familiar with how this show works, we tackle the tabletop gaming news first. So that means we'll be taking a look at the great battles of Julius Caesar probably in about 35 minutes or so. If you're watching live, that means kick back, put your feet up, relax, take a load off. If, on the other hand, you're watching this 30 minutes or more after the stream ends, you'll be able to jump past the tabletop gaming news if you want, although there's some pretty cool news tonight. There's always interesting news on the show. But if you're not interested in that, there will be timestamps, and those are available in the show notes. I think sometimes now they show up as chapters. Not positive if that's right away. That might be after, the rendering is done from the stream. But you will be able to also possibly find those timestamps in the timeline of the video itself, depending on the device you happen to be watching this on. So there is that. Don't forget, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel. Also, it's a live stream, so that means there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. And you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours to take part in chat. Yet another way that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But first out the gate tonight was the Motor City Madman himself. Yes, the Madman, one of our chat moderators, by the way, is first out the gate. We've also got 245 Trioxin. John Vogel is with us for a War Game Wednesday, and he is watching the Yankees. Very nice, very nice. I am pulling for Mr. Aaron Judge to break Roger Maris's record. I think that would be pretty cool. Judge seems like a pretty good guy, too. So there is that. Coco B is with us, David Weisberger, as well as Kathy Evans and Connor Dunning are all with us in chat right out the bat. In fact, Flaming Huron has now showed up, another of our chat moderators. So we've got double duty going on here. So behave yourselves. All right. So we got a nice chat off and rocking and rolling. So let's jump on into the news. Because making its way into stores from Backspindle Games is the collector's edition of Discworld Clax. Here's the skinny. A Discworld family board game based on the semaphore messaging system featured in Sir Terry Pratchett's novel Going Postal. The fastest non-magical messaging system on the Discworld. Using a semaphore system of shuttered lamps on top of high towers, the Grand Trunk Semaphore Company has revolutionized long-distance communications on the Discworld. Their network of Clax towers covers most of the unnamed continent, but now the old postal service is fighting back. You play the collector's edition of Discworld Clax in 4 different ways. The first is a cooperative game that recreates the race against the post office in the novel. Players must work together to send a message 1 letter at a time before Moist von Lipwig reaches Genua. In addition, there are 4 ways you can increase the difficulty of this version of play. Second is a competitive game where players try to outdo each other to become the fastest Clax operator. Thirdly is a 2-player race game, ideal for teaching children. And finally, there's a brand new quickfire game for 2 or more players called Goblin Glory. Yes, Backspindle Games is delighted to point out that the collector's edition of Discworld Clax will also include stunning miniatures of Moist von Lipwig on Boris, obviously the name of the horse, a deep dwarf, and 12 Clax towers. The Discworld Clax Collector's Edition is for 1 to 4 players, ages 8 and up, plays around 30 minutes, and does carry an MSRP of $49.95. So there we've got that. I gotta be honest, I have I know, don't burn me in effigy. I have actually not read any of the Discworld novels. I know. I will point out, I have tried to listen to some of the audiobooks. I've only gotten through the first 2. And I think it's probably because I got my hands on like older audiobooks. I would assume that there have been new recordings since the ones that I got my hands on they were rather dull. Although I will point out in the first book, I did think it was kind of funny. Terry Pratchett was kind of spoofing Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. I thought that was kind of funny as well. Or is that the first book from Terry Pratchett, or is that the first book from Myth Adventures? No, it's Terry Pratchett. I was going to say, it's not Myth Adventures. Another series of comedic fantasy books that I read way back in the day. I haven't picked those up in years. The Madman says that the Amethyst 5e Kickstarter is now including updated Fate and Savage Worlds rules. That must have been one of the stretch goals, I'll take a guess, because that was not something I was aware of. And funny enough, they are advertising with the Gaming Gang. So I do know there's only a week left to that Kickstarter, and I know they are about 500% funded. If I remember correctly, I think their goal was 15,000 and they're at like around 70. So there is that as well. Sarah D is popping on in to say hello. saying that this hits too close to home. She thinks she'll pass. I have no idea what that would mean. I don't. Does Sarah work in message delivery in a semaphore tower? I don't know. Coco B says Postal was a decent novel. They would recommend the City Guard novels. However, like all long-running series, there are peaks and valleys, I'm sure, with the Discworld series. I know my best friend Elliot has read, I think he's read all of them. If not all of them, he has come very close to reading all of them. Christopher Rush is with us in chat as well. So talking about postal deliveries leads me into Portal Games, because they've got a new edition of the tile laying game Basilica, which is making its way into stores. Here's what I know. In Renaissance Florence, a basilica unlike anything the world has ever seen is being built. 2 architects are delegated to work on it. The first is on behalf of the Queen. The second is on behalf of the diocesan bishop. One of them will enjoy splendor and wealth. The other will be forgotten forever. Forever. Basilica is an area-controlled tile-laying game for 2 players, set in medieval Florence, offering heavy player interaction and easy-to-learn rules. In this game, players take on the roles of competing architects, overseeing the construction of a magnificent cathedral. Each turn, they place tiles to enlarge the cathedral and create areas of a single color, while placing builder pawns to gain advantages and control areas. In addition, players execute orders to move or remove builders, increase abilities, block spaces, or tear down previously built cathedral parts. There are 4 tile colors in the game. Players' goals are to create the largest possible areas representing a single color and have more pawns in these areas than their opponent. Basilica is designed by Lucas M. Pagoda and was first published in 2010 and further developed by the expansion Festum Futurum in 2012. This new edition by Portal Games also includes a revamped game board, premium custom-made wooden pawns depicting medieval characters, as well as that expansion offering players a premium full game experience. Basilica is for 2 players, ages 14 and up, plays in around 45 minutes, and it does carry an MSRP of $40. Well. I am not familiar with Basilica. I am a fan, as you know, of tile laying games. So when I see a tile laying game, I'm always like, I wonder. So I'm kind of curious as far as the back and forth with the 2 different players. That I like, because usually in games like along these lines, you don't have a lot of interaction with the players, between the players. It's sort of like, I take my turn, bang, I'm done. This looks like it's a little bit different because you can tear down parts of the cathedral that the other player has built. Nice little take that with you. And $40 MSRP. That's pretty friendly price tag. Christopher says, what an interesting concept for a board game. We have seen a lot of different board games over the years that have something to do with building cathedrals, building churches, all along those kind of lines. This looks like it's a little bit different, once again, because there is that interaction between the 2 players and the take that aspect of it as well. So let's move on to some role-playing game news, because just launched on Kickstarter for Adderstone Games and Modiphius Entertainment is Against the Fairy Queen. Here's the scoop. An ancient island at the edge of an insatiable empire. Avalon is a storied setting abound with myths, secrets, and adventure inspired by Celtic mythology in Roman Britain. Venture through the fierce but divided Valak clan lands, step onto the gilded streets of the Raxian Empire, and fall into the entrancing other world. But take care dealing with both the Fae and demons who reside there. Quest through real folklore, train Celtic subclasses, and master new systems in this epic Celtic campaign book for Legends of Avalon and 5th edition D&D. It's brought to you by Adderstone Games and Modiphius Entertainment. Dare you stand against the Fairy Queen? This includes Fate cards, which is an all-new exploration mechanic. There's an innovative modular rules system for diplomacy, journeys, stealth, and more. 5 iconic adventure archetypes, 10 Celtic legends woven into a tale of love, loss, and revenge, 13 heroic Celtic and Roman subclasses, 25 mythical monsters, tricksy fae, and supernatural beings. Also, there's 54 custom illustrated foil poker cards which are available, as well as an epic Celtic campaign book for Legends of Avalon and 5th edition. That is the main selling point of this Kickstarter. There is a short Kickstarter video, about a minute in length, so let's take a peek.
With blooms of blood and forgotten dream, Avalon's hearts will love or wilt, and gods shall die in unweaving against the gaze of the Fairy Queen. Grymu ymlaen.
This Kickstarter launched earlier today, and it is fully funded already. You can reserve a copy of Against the Fairy Queen in hardcover, which includes the PDF, for a $54 pledge. Or if you want to just score the PDF alone, you can do that for a $26 pledge through October 11th. Expected delivery is June of next year. Looks kind of unique, I must say. I know I shared some news about the Legends of Avalon game. I'm trying to recall if I think it's its own thing, if I remember right. I don't think it is a 5e setting. That's why they say it's for Legends of Avalon and 5e. But kind of interesting that it's taking, a look at the kind of Celtic legends of Europe. So something to take a peek at, keep an eye on. There are other pledge levels as well that include, I think there's, if I remember right, there's an art book. There's that foil deck of cards. But for the most part, the key pledge levels are for the hardcover with PDF, as well as just the PDF. So speaking about Kickstarters, following a successful Kickstarter, Hit Point Press is taking pre-orders for the carnival-themed 5e horror adventure Heckna. Yeah, I've got the grisly details. Welcome to the Revelia. Heckna is a 5e adventure story designed to take characters through levels 1 to 10. This book is both a setting and a campaign guide with plenty of replayability. Game masters and players alike will delight in this whimsical, dark carnival setting. This is a book that combines dark fantasy and fun, campy escapades. It's designed for players ages 14 and up. However, it's very easy to adjust the tone and the atmosphere for your party. There's plenty here that will satisfy horror fans and just as much that will entice fans of humor and whimsy. Welcome to the carnival, where we are always smiling. The sounds of revelry drift through the dark, cold forest, drawing wayward travelers to a place where the senses are delightfully and bewilderingly overwhelmed. Peering out from the top of the conifers is the blood-red spire of the Revelia, where wonder and fun awaits. But underneath the sparkling lights and gleaming facade is a sinister underbelly of chaos and terror. The magical Revelia is the work of Hecna, a creative mastermind masquerading as a jovial ringleader. Some, however, are aware of Hecna's ruse, including a hunter who will stop at nothing to dispatch Hecna and destroy the Revelia once and for all. Travelers may believe that they find the Revelia by chance, but in fact, Hecna goes to great lengths to lure only the best and brightest to his carnival in search for a greater, more spectacular challenge. Many have tried and failed to escape from this carnival, but with the right brains, brawn, and alliances, even Hecna can be outmaneuvered. Will characters see through the glitzy and glamorous charade, or fall prey to Hecna's relentless torment and become a permanent member of the Revelia? Right now, you can pre-order the boxed set, which includes the hardcover book as well as extra goodies, for $99.99. Or you can pre-order just the hardcover book alone for $54.99. Do want to point out both of those include the PDF, and I believe if you happen to kind of take a shot at taking care of this right now, you'll get the PDF absolutely free. Somebody Coco B threw me off with the spider web on the lens thing. I'm like, what? Is there a spider over there? Is something I'm not seeing? Because it is the kingdom of the spiders. Anyway, you can get the box set for $99.99, hardcover book $54.99. Those are pre-orders. They include the PDF. If you want just the digital edition, that's available for $29.99. I gotta say, this looks very interesting. I get a kick out of the whole carnival, the dark carnival sort of aspect of this. Give it a bit of a something wicked this way comes vibe, if you would like. So I'm not sure if this is going to be out by Halloween. Like I said, I know the PDF is available now. I don't know if the actual physical release will be out by Halloween. I think that would be very cool if that were the case. So David is asking, is the video fuzzy for everyone this evening? I would hope it's not. Let's take a quick peek. We have 0 drop frames, so everything should be pretty good. Should be pretty sharp. Flaming Heron points out that they've got no issues on their end. That's where the crack about the lens being covered in spider webs came from. All I saw was that out of the corner of my eye in chat. I was like, wait, what? So it kind of threw me off there when I was talking about the pricing of this. I'm like trying to read it and look to see, are there webs? Is there a little spider on the lens? Because we have had some opportunities for spiders to actually walk across the lens. They've come very close, but they have not done it yet. Christopher points out, so does John Vogel, that video looks fine on their end. Cool. Very cool. All right. Final news piece, now available in PDF and available for pre-order for Warhammer Age of Sigmar Soulbound is Blackened Earth. Here's the latest from my friends over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment. Greywater Fastness is under siege. The vast industrial city dedicated to producing weapons and arms for Sigmar's armies now finds itself teetering on the brink of oblivion. A tide of power-hungry Skaven covet Greywater's technology. The neighboring Sylvaneth sing a song of revenge for the lands polluted by the city's toxic runoff. And within the city itself, allies and enemies alike stoke the self-destructive flames of war. But if Greywater Fastness falls, Sigmar's armies across the realms fall with it. Strike out with the forge-hot streets of Greywater Fastness in this brand new campaign for Warhammer Age of Sigmar Soulbound. Blackened Earth is a thrilling 5-part campaign set within the free city of Greywater Fastness in Giran, the realm of life. Here, the Soulbound are tasked with steering this vital city of Sigmar away from its path of destruction. With monsters gnawing at the gates, allies turning into enemies, and warmongers fighting for dominance in the city, the Soulbound must use everything at their disposal to save the doomed city from immolation in the fires of war. This book contains an epic campaign told across 5 thrilling adventures. Walk the streets of one of Sigmar's most industrialized cities, then strike out into the blasted wastelands and the vibrant wilds of the realm of life. There's a comprehensive guide to the city of Greywater Fastness. Discover its history and how it was founded. Explore over 70 unique and strange locations and learn about the major players in the city. Also, a beautifully illustrated map of Greywater Fastness is included. There's also new items to purchase in the city's black markets and new endeavors to undertake while in the city, as well as new terrifying monsters and allied NPCs for your binding to encounter. Right now, you can pre-order the 160-page hardcover for $39.99, which includes a PDF, which you will get, I believe, right when you order. I think that's usually how Cubicle 7 Entertainment does those pre-orders. If you want just the PDF alone, it is available right now. It is over at Drive-Thru RPG, and it is $19.99. Very cool. So we will see a copy of this at some point when it comes out. I do not have the PDF yet. I expect it within the next day or two from my connection over at Cubicle 7. They're another company that is had some turnover in their marketing department. So they've I guess they had brought 2 people in and one of them left like 2 days later. Hate to hear that. But also should point out that the finale, Empire in Ruins, the companion and the core 5th chapter of The Enemy Within, is on its way to us. So we will be checking that out. That is going to be one of the October reviews. So anyway, Sammy will have a review of this in the future because Sammy tackles all of the Soulbound releases. All right, that is it for tonight's news. Keep in mind, I was just talking about Drive-Thru RPG, the gaming gang. Thus, the Dispatch is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit Drive-Thru RPG or Dungeon Masters Guild, Storyteller's Vault, what have you, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. If you're looking to go to a website that is not Drive-Thru RPG or whatever the banner shows, super easy to still use our affiliate code. Click on the banner, look to the lower left, choose what site you're going to. Boom, you're there. So you can get there from Drive-Thru RPG or Dungeon Masters Guild, what have you. Because I know we usually have banner ads for both Drive-Thru RPG and Dungeon Masters Guild, kind of rotating. Flaming Heron points out that spiders are active viewers of the show. I don't know if they're necessarily viewing the show, but they are relatively active around here. All right. Also, should mention that if you like this video, besides hitting the like button, right? Yeah, you want to do that. Okay, so anyway, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you think thegaminggang.com is a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always swing on over to paypal.me and make a small donation. It is paypal.me/thegaminggang. There's also a little well, it's not a banner, it's a little ad on thegaminggang.com. It's easy to get to it from there. But thankfully, people out there use the banner ads. They use paypal.me. In fact, the Madman and Testy Trekkie have recently made not so small donations to the Gaming Gang, and it is always much appreciated. All right. So what's cooking? A couple of things I did want to mention before we jump on into Great Battles of Julius Caesar, the Deluxe edition from GMT Games. So I finished watching the latest Ken Burns documentary on PBS, The U.S. and the Holocaust. Does not make you proud to be an American watching that, boy, I tell you. Very, very sad. Man, weird thing is, I mean, I had heard a good bit of what's covered in the documentary, or I've read it over the years and things like that. But when it's all put together, oh, man. So, you know, that whole huddled masses yearning to be free. We haven't always, you know, stuck to that. And that line's been kind of bullshit for a lot of years. So, yeah, really, really well done documentary. It is not an easy watch. That is for sure, especially when they're including diary entries from Anne Frank, and you know where it's going, and you're like, oh man. So I certainly recommend everyone out there who has access to PBS, because I know we've got people watching outside the United States. Definitely recommend giving it a watch. Like I said, it's not necessarily a feel-good experience, but it is something that is kind of ignored. Because I know for years and years, it was sort of like there was the kind of the story that, well, you know, the average Americans, they didn't really know what was going on in Poland and Germany and Czechoslovakia, and they really didn't know about the wholesale slaughter of Jews, and you know, really wasn't, you know, common knowledge. Bullshit. It was. So it was just like, yeah, we just don't want them here. It was like, man, even Jewish people who lived in America, 1 out of 4 of them did not want Jewish refugees coming to America. Man. Anyway, so just wanted to mention that. Like I said, really, really well done. I always think Ken Burns documentaries are just amazing. Doesn't matter what he tackles. It could be national parks. It could be Ernest Hemingway. It could be the Civil War, Vietnam War, World War II, the home front. Always really, really phenomenally well done. Okay. Anyway, so John Vogel said Grant had nothing good to say about Jewish people. A lot of people in government did not have good things to say about Jewish people. So, and that is something that is, you know, brought up in this documentary as well. Just wanted, yeah, just floating it out there if you haven't watched it. Educate yourself, right? All right. Also, October, lots going on. Lots and lots going on. In fact, at the end of the show, I will tell you what you're going to see the first 3 episodes of The Dispatch coming up in October. But keep in mind, we're going to have RPGs on every episode, and they are 95% most likely going to be RPG reviews, because I am shooting for a new review every day over at thegaminggang.com. Now, some of those may be written reviews as well. Flaming Heron says, I'm very educated. Always appreciate talking about non-gaming topics. Yeah, I know. Some people don't like when I throw that stuff out there, but I don't live in a vacuum, right? All right. So role-playing games every episode, probably going to be reviews, new reviews every day on thegaminggang.com. Episodes of the October Spooktacular each and every evening, which will feature spooky old-time radio shows like I did last year. I think this will be the 4th or 5th time I've done the Spooktacular. So we're going to do that. And I am also going to have a 50-50 game sale. I've got loads of games. Going to put them up for sale. It is not an auction. It is going to be a sale. So it'll be first come, first served, half of which I will keep, half of which will go to Extra Life for Kids. And if we're able to pull off a gaming marathon this year, which I don't think we're going to, but I'd like to, that will go on top of whatever comes in. Otherwise, that'll just be the donation that is made for Extra Life for Kids Day, which is in November. So David points out Judge has 2 doubles and 2 runs. He's going for that batting title. He's going for a triple crown, really. I don't know if he's going to be able to pull it off. At least last time I looked, I think he was a little off pace with wasn't it the RBIs? Because it's kind of funny. We actually have 2 players in the major leagues kind of in the running for a triple crown, because we also have Paul Goldschmidt from the Cardinals, who is within striking distance of a triple crown as well. Pretty wild. Haven't seen that in a long time. In fact, I think, isn't it Cabrera? Wasn't he the last triple crown winner back in like 2001, something like that? All right. Coco B says, what? That doesn't sound like hockey. No, it's baseball. Okay, so anyway, all I was basically pointing out is that I got a lot cooking for October. Once again, no shows next week because I'm going to be prepping a lot of stuff for that busy month of October. Okie doke. So we're going to take a look at Deluxe edition of Great Battles of Julius Caesar from GMT Games in just a moment. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
What's wrong?
Mr. Wilkins says cut the kidding and tell him Wilkins decaffeinated coffee is the best you can buy.
Yes, sir, it was a dandy trip. Of course, we's all of my tuckers from sleeping setting up at Pearl's old truck. Run just fine, and her boy drove all the way.
Winston?
No, Jethro. Jethro Bodine. That's that big, tall, good-looking...
No, Mr. Clarence, I meant would you like a Winston cigarette?
I don't know as I've ever seen one of them before.
Oh, try one.
Mighty good smelling tobacco. What's that white stuff in there?
Oh, that's the Winston filter. But it's what's up front that counts.
You mean the tobacco?
Oh, a cigarette is only as good as the tobacco that's in it. With Winston's filter blend up front, it's like money in the bank. You're going to like Winston's.
I reckon I'll decide that for myself.
Yes, sir.
I like it. This here Winston tastes good.
Like a cigarette should.
The Beverly Hillbillies has been presented by Winston. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope you'll try Winston, because Winston tastes good, like a cigarette should.
Wilkins lives! And the truth is revealed. Mr. Drysdale turned Jed Clampett onto cigarettes. Now we know who to blame. Christopher Rush says, yeah, let's light up cigarettes whilst fueling a motor vehicle. Yeah. I know, it's so weird to see these like tobacco commercials. I guess any commercial like built into the show, which was, I guess, very, very common back in the day. I wasn't around to see it. So it goes beyond, my years. But I guess they also, on Beverly Hillbillies, I think they were also sponsored by Kellogg's. So there are some Kellogg's cornflakes commercials. I know I've seen one of them that is also like right out of the episode of the show. So one thing I find pretty interesting is that off the top of my head, I do not recall the actor's name who played Mr. Drysdale. He despised that show. He hated that show. And he was just so pissed that it was a very big success because he wanted to get out. And then I also heard that like towards the end of the series, I guess he was starting to develop like dementia, and he was very difficult to deal with on set. So I don't know. So the madman says, I just don't get the taste good when it comes to cigarettes. Well, as a former smoker, it wasn't really the taste. It was just kind of like, oh, the nicotine. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Connor says that they know one of those old brands had asbestos filters. I knew someone whose dad smoked Russian cigarettes. And there was like, they had cardboard filters. Oh, just awful. I tried one time and it was, oh my gosh. I was like, oh, this must be what the horseshit cigarettes down in Mexico taste like. Moving right along. Tonight, we are going to take a first look at Great Battles of Julius Caesar from GMT Games. This is the Deluxe Edition, designed by Mark Herman and Richard H. Berg. The box set is for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up. They play around between 2 and 9 hours, so there's a pretty wide swing. This Deluxe Edition carries an MSRP of $115. That said, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Great Battles of Julius Caesar, the Deluxe Edition. Let me get my keyboard out of the way there. Let's get the shrink wrap off here. So my understanding is this actually includes 2 games that have been out of print for quite some time. All right, so let's take a look at the back here. I'm not going to read everything from the back of the box, but Great Battles of Julius Caesar Deluxe Edition is a reprinting of, here we go, 2 classic Great Battles of History titles. Caesar, The Civil Wars, published in 1994, and Caesar, Conquest of Gaul, published in 1996 and reprinted in 2006, along with additional 8 battles published in their supporting modules. Great Battles of Julius Caesar Deluxe Edition traces the evolution of the Roman military system from early battles against various foreign foes, Caesar's wars in Gaul, followed by Caesar's wars against his Roman rivals, and culminating with the Roman invasion of Britain a century later. Scenarios vary in size, with 4 large battles using 1.5 map sheets, 6 small battles using a half map sheet, and 12 using a full-size map sheet. Countermix includes 43 distinct cohort-style legions, a host of specialty-type auxiliary units, numerous tribal infantry and cavalry units, and some old favorites from SBQR, elephants, chariots, and even the double-sized phalanx. Along with the typical set-piece battles, several battles feature the use of fortifications, one an amphibious invasion Roman style, and one a full-blown naval battle using a subset of the war galley rules. So we've got loads to take a peek at. Let's crack this on open. So looks like we're going to start off with a bunch of counter sheets as opposed to the rule books. So we will move those out of the way for a moment. So we've got our scenario book, which is pretty damn thick. Here is our rule book. Here are the naval rules for that one battle. So move those off to the side. And it looks like we've got a ton of paper maps. Taking a peek here. And yeah, they do have that kind of bit of treatment that GMT has been utilizing on their paper maps. All right, so we've got our rules of play. We've got our introduction. So the Great Battles of Julius Caesar Deluxe Edition portrays the development of the art of war, and most specifically that of the so-called Marian Legion, as first envisioned by Scipio Africanus, then developed throughout the 2nd century BCE and put in place by Gaius Marius, the so-called Marian reforms. All right, so we get the playing, talk about the playing pieces. Got examples of our combat units here. Game scale. Each point of size denotes approximately 100 infantry or cavalry. Thus, a 5-size cohort unit represents 500, really 480 men. Tribal infantry contains a bit more per size point, up to 150 men per point, because their formations were rather denser. So we got our sequence of play. We have the auxiliaries phase, leader activation phase, orders, momentum phase, or return to B, which is leader activation, camp movement phase, and route and reload, as well as withdrawal. So we have our leaders in command. So we get a breakdown of their rank, command range, elite initiative indicator, initiative, their charisma, as well as what legion line they command. So we get a discussion of their capabilities. We get the Roman command system, which was what was able to lead to many defeats of native peoples, is simply the command structure of the Roman legions. So we have the tribal command system, Pontiac command system for Hellenistic kingdoms. All right, so it's going through all the different phases here. So we got movement. So we got movement allowances. Talking about withdrawal, zones of control. So all units except those in column must be faced in a hex so that the top of the unit, the side with its name, faces into the vertex of the hex. Oh, okay. The two hexes to the front are called the front hexes. Those to the side, the flank, and those behind, the rear. A unit may only move into a front hex. Good to know. Combat, got missile fire and melee. Shock combat. Here we get some examples. So we got an example of shock combat here. Discussion of combat tables. So in many ways, this will be kind of a traditional hex encounter sort of war game, but aesthetically a little bit different. So I almost said chits. I don't like using the word chit. The counters actually have a bit of visual pop to them. So we also have an index here. So we'll take a quick peek at the naval rules. Battles of the late Roman Republic and early Empire. So showing us the counters. So sequence of play here is we have a wind determination phase, squadron determination, initiative, speed level, command squadron activation, movement, boarding, phase pass. So when a player's finished, they pass to their opponent. End segment, then we have individual squadron activation, status resolution, ship recovery, Roman fatigue recovery, and the victory phase. So, oar-driven galleys, wind-driven ships, ship combat, the Scythe of Doom. Not familiar with that. Romans came up with a gadget, use of which would negate the sail ship's height advantages. A long sarissa-length spear at the end of which was attached a scythe. By coming alongside and having the crews use these scythes of doom, the Romans would cut the sails in lines of a Veneti ship, rendering them unmovable, after which they were easily boarded. So we have manpower combat, boarding, missile fire, burning ships. There you go. Kind of interesting that we get a whole rule book for what I think is essentially just one battle that's included in this. Kind of cool. All right, we got the scenario book, which is pretty thick. So jump on in here real quick. So the Great Battles of Julius Caesar Deluxe Edition scenarios are presented in chronological order. First section features 3 battles that occurred prior to the time of Julius Caesar, featuring the new style Roman legion that Caesar later honed to perfection during his time in Gaul. Each battle showcases a different Roman opponent with their distinct mode of fighting. Numidian hit and run, Germanic tribal onslaught, and Hellenistic style combined arms. Cirta and Chaeronea are of moderate size, while Vercellae is one of the largest in the box. And yes, I know I'm mispronouncing all of that. So we have the Battle of Cirta. So this section is the rise of the Roman warlords. So we're going to get a background, special rules, and victory conditions. And of course, it's showing us the setup and the map that you're going to use. One thing you will notice, the maps are not going to be like really eye-catching, simply because at this point in time, most of your big battles just took place over open areas. So here we've got, looks like we had the Germanic tribes. I think this is also a battle against the Germanic tribes. Oh, here's our naval battle, the Bay of Biscay. So there you go. It's just open water. The invasion of Britannia. I don't think, are there naval units in this? Because otherwise, why would there be, why would the ocean tiles? Unless you're using those with some special rules to like slow down those units as they're disembarking. So we got the battle for Paris, Gergovia. Oh, now that looks like kind of a cool map. But as we can see, this is just packed with battles here. So now we have Caesar's Civil Wars. These scenarios cover all the major battles of the Civil War fought by Julius Caesar and Pompey. Pompey the Great. I find Roman history to be very interesting. I like ancient history. I've listened to a lot of different audiobooks about ancient Rome, ancient Greece, even some stuff about like Sumeria and, you know, going back way before Rome and the Greek states and things like that. Well, it looks like we're getting some of these maps that look like they've got some changes in elevation and that. We have had some that show forests as well. So I don't think we're going to get a big example of play like we normally will in many of the playbooks from GMT Games. This looks like this is all scenarios. Maybe we'll see some, I was going to say, designer notes. Then we get a couple of scenarios. There's the Roman conquest of Britannia. And that looks like that's going to be what finishes up the scenario book. So there are some changes from Battles of the Warrior Queen module, which would be Boudica. However you want to pronounce it, because I have heard that pronounced like 5 different ways. Kathy Evans says, this would be a fun way to study history. It is. I mean, wargaming is, you know, if I had more time available to me, I would certainly play more traditional hex and counter war games, especially if I had opponents who were into traditional hex and counter war games. Unfortunately, I don't have the time, and I really don't have the players either. I can get my best friend Elliot to play some stuff. My nephew Cameron, something like this probably would not appeal to him. If it was like World War I or World War II, yes, I would be able to get him to play more traditional hex and counter sort of games. So we've got all of these counter sheets So it looks like we've got maybe like 8.5 is what I'm guessing. So here we've got some informational counters. And we'll keep our fingers crossed that the good old Panasonic autofocus is going to play nice with these. But as you can see, they have some visual pop to them. We do see the various different soldiers, different colors. There's a lot of information that's also packed onto these counters as we take a little closer look here. There's quite a lot on there. It's not just your typical, okay, attack strength, defense strength, movement allowance, like you'll see on a lot of things. So very nice. And of course, these are dual-sided. We have some of the naval units right there, some of the ships. So as I mentioned, these are dual-sided. I have never played this series because, for one, the one game has been out of print since 94, was it? And then the other had been reprinted. I think, didn't they say something like 2004? It was originally from 96. So these had been out of print for quite some time. John Vogel says, move to Cincinnati. John says, played the naval game with Richard and 19 other people at GMT West one year. Wow, that's very cool. With Richard H. Berg, the late Richard H. Berg. So we have some more units. Looks like we've got some phalanx units, I believe, because they are the larger size counters there. This is certainly a game that you would want to have a counter tray or maybe a couple of counter trays available to you. I don't know if there's any counter trays in the box. Every once in a while we see them in GMT Games releases, and then other times we don't. So I'm giving you a peek at these. You can see we've got some of the various tribal units as well. So the Legionnaire units are relatively similar, but as you notice, the other units are quite different. That's kind of cool. It appears that we've got like step reduction for these units as well. That's why they're dual-sided like this. All right, and then we get a few remaining combat units and informational counters. There we go. So how many were there? There were 7.5. I said 8.5. I was off by 1. All right. So now we're going to start taking a look at the maps. And there are quite a lot of them. So it looks like these are two-sided. So they are dual-sided. And they are 4 panels. So they are not huge. So it appears that you may not necessarily need a ton of room for most of these battles, although we did see there are some that take up 1.5 maps, unless this just happens to be a very small map. That's a possibility. I think that was the case, because this one looks like this is going to be quite a bit bigger. Yep, it is. So that was a very small map. So here's one of the Britannia maps here. Then, so we have our battle indicated down in the lower right corner. Then I think this is one big map. It is. This is in Gaul. And it looks like this has some fortifications up top. Or a fortification up top. So looks like that may also be some fortifications. So we have the Rhine. This is another larger size. So it appears, I guess, our standard maps might be 4. They may be actually 8. They might be 8 panels. And the small ones are the 4. So I guess yeah, that's probably how it's going to work. The 4 panel maps are the half maps. So we have an unfinished Roman camp. Oh, sure. Change things up and put the battle up there. We got some forest as well. Pretty cool looking maps here. Looks like that's a village of some sort. Gergovia. It's another Gaelic battle. The Medway. This is Britain. So we've got the river there. It looks like this is probably swamp. So we do have map keys on each of these that tell us what the terrain is also. So as an example here, it's showing the north map. This might be a pretty large one here. Munda in Spain. So we've got that. And then this looks like this is from the Roman Civil War. Not even gonna try to pronounce that, but I can tell it's the Civil War because of the year. So we got that. Trust me, we got more. We've got more. Right. So here we've got Caesar's Fort. Caesar's Palace, what? Thapsus in Africa. And then, here we go. This is another Civil War battle. This is what I mean by, a lot of these battles just were open area. Not a lot of terrain features. And that was kind of how a lot of times the combatants would agree to meet in a location. Not all the time, but many times. And they would look for a location that would be, level ground. All right. What else we got? We also have, looks like this is our ocean map for the naval battle. Connor says, seems like this comes with a lot. Yes, there is quite a bit in here. So yes, this is the Bay of Biscay. And then Nicopolis. I think that's also another battle in the Roman Civil War. Oh my gosh, and a blank side. All right, so those are all the maps. Got more goodies too. We have some play aids. Got quite a lot of play aid stuff. So we have a player aid card number 1 with our movement costs. Clash of Swords. So we also have our defender aspect. So if you're flanking or if you're attacking from the rear. Shock superiority. Shock combat results. We've got missile range and results. And fortification effects as well. So we've got 2 of these. We also have a couple of player aid card 2. So we have cohesion hit and TQ checks. Command summary. Summary of orders and Legion line commands. Line and Legion command eligibility. And stacking charts. I would think you probably don't have a lot of stacking in this, just from what we were taking a look at in the rule book. I would think that there are probably some units you can stack, but not a lot. All right, so we also have player aid card 3 with leadership checks, leader casualties, rally, die roll of doom, elephant rampage table, and the sequence of play. Got a couple of these. Looks like this uses a 10-sided die. So we've got our game turn, route points, and of course this is going to be single-sided. It's not. I would think you'd be tracking things on here. How would you? This is a terrain effects chart for one of the battles. That's kind of odd. How would you be able to use it if you're tracking stuff on this card? Then we've got our naval charts and tables. Yeah, this is jam-packed. Flaming Red says, but wait, there's more. There is. There's also the insert. A slew of baggies. There are a lot of baggies in here. All right, so there's a 10-sided die and 2 6-sided dice. So maybe it's 6-sided and 10-sided that you're utilizing here. All right, so we've got that. We've got all of these different charts and tables for player aids. We've got a ton of maps. Okay, so that's 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I'm going to put the counters in so I can leave the rule book and scenario book on top. So we got 7.5 counter sheets. We have our naval rules. We have our rule book. And we've got our scenario book. And this is not good. The box is not going to close completely. So that's kind of unusual. Kind of like, well, it closed all the way when I opened it. Let's see. Yeah, it's close. It's close. All right. That is Great Battles of Julius Caesar. This is the deluxe edition, which has just come out very recently from GMT Games, designed by Mark Herman and Richard H. Berg. This is for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, includes 20 ancient battles, and carries an MSRP of $115. As Flaming Heron points out, it is jam-packed with goodness. Also should point out, as I do with all GMT Games releases, if you have any interest in picking this up, do not wait. We talked about these 2 games that make up this deluxe edition have been out of print for a long time. So GMT Games does not run massive print runs of their titles either. So you don't want to end up missing out and having to pay top dollar on the secondary market. That's for sure. All right. So let's swing on back to the other camera. Sweet. Very cool. Very cool. Tessie Trekkies popped in. Dag nabbit, I'm late. Yes. Show's wrapping up. We are wrapping up. Coco B says a regular war game salad. Yeah, there's a lot in here. That had to be over 1,000 counters easily. Probably closer to 1,500 counters, I would guess. So that was pretty wild. Funny to mention counters. I do not trim my counters. I do not clip counters. And I know people are like, oh, blasphemer. Like, I just don't have time for it. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people out there have their little, little squares to make sure that their counters are all nice and perfect. And it's not my thing. All right. So once again, that is Great Battles of Julius Caesar, the deluxe edition from GMT Games. So once again, no streams next week. Of course, there will be things going on at thegaminggang.com. There will be videos popping up as well. So it's not as if I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to be getting things ready for a big October. So John Vogel says, I do. My wife thought it was cat litter. I'm not sure what that's in response to. I don't know. All right. Anyway. So when I return, it'll be, I think October 3rd. Is that Monday? I will be reviewing, the clippings. Thank you, John. I was kind of like, okay. It's like, now that clears things up. Now I understand. So, anyway, as I mentioned, all throughout October, every day, brand new review. Every episode of the stream is going to be devoted to a role-playing game. And more than likely going to be a review. So on October 3rd, I will be reviewing Call of Cthulhu, A Time to Harvest from the fine folks over at Chaosium Inc. That'll be followed up by my review of Book of Ebon Tides from Kobold Press. And then we will wrap up that week with my review of Hyperborea 3E, the player handbook. Or is it player's manual? Player's manual. I always want to call all these just the player's handbook. But no, it is the player's manual. I will be reviewing this as well. So once again, October is going to be jam-packed with goodies. So do not miss out. Madman says, well, no shows next week means I won't miss anything. On call for work. 80 to 100 hours in 7 days doesn't promote much outside of work. Holy cow. That's crazy. Yikes. Yowza. So, yes, reviews all throughout the month. Old-time radio shows to be creeping you out. We're going to have some fun. We are going to have lots and lots of fun. All right. That is it for tonight's stream. Don't forget, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, damn it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you do subscribe, ding the bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Central right here on YouTube. It'll also inform you when I upload other videos, such as my upcoming look at, where did the book go? It's gone. I had it. There it is. The print box edition of Rackham Vale, Yes, I've already reviewed it. I did a first look video, but this is the color edition from Crowbar Creative. So I'm going to put together about a 15-minute video for you to check out all the goodness in color. Sweet. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. If you're watching live, thank you very much. If you took part in chat, big tip of the cap and bonus experience points for you as well. Not only for keeping me company, but keeping each other company also. But of course, I know a lot of people out there don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very kindly for taking time out of your busy life to watch any of the videos here on the Gaming Gang channel, which now has over 8,000 subscribers. Hooray! Everybody enjoy the rest of your week, the upcoming weekend, all next week. I won't see you again until next month, which isn't that far off. But, of course, keep your eyes peeled. There's stuff going to be on the website, on the channel as well. Just no episodes of The Dispatch. Okay, so take care, everybody. Be good to each other. And, of course, here's hoping each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.
Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, that's okay. You don't have to leave just yet. In fact, why don't you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel right here, or take a peek at the latest live stream, or even find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks again for watching.